The University of Virginia is mourning the loss of 3 young men killed Sunday by a fellow student. We'll show you how the school and others are honoring their memory. Plus, why the Supreme Court is set to hear another case involving a business owner's right to refuse service to an LGBTQ+ customer. And Black Panther is a hit at the box office, but find out why one country is banning the movie. Welcome to The Griot. I'm Ebony K. Williams. We start today's show by remembering 3 football players killed at the University of Virginia. Deshaun Perry, Devin Chandler, and Lavelle Davis Jr. all had their lives cut tragically short. Now, according to the university's football roster, all 3 young men were in their junior year when they were gunned down on a charter bus full of students returning from a play in Washington, D.C. Sunday evening. And 2 others were also injured.
My heart is broken for the victims and their families and for all those who knew and loved them. And they are all in my prayers. As I've said before, when I see our students, I see my own kids. And I cannot imagine anything worse for a parent than to lose a child.
The Black Student Alliance issued a statement saying in part, "We share the same sentiments of confusion, uncertainty, disbelief, and sadness. Our hearts go out to the families, friends, and everyone else affected by the sudden passing of our community members." Comedian and radio host Ricky Smiley became emotional in an Instagram post about the shooting, revealing that Devin Chandler, one of the 3 players killed, was like a nephew to him.
He's a great kid. He was a dog receiver. I feel terrible this morning. I feel sick to my stomach. And I just can't imagine the trauma those parents, not only those 3 parents, but parents all over the country that woke up this morning without a child that they laid down and gave birth to. And they don't have them anymore. Gone. Just gone. Out of nowhere. These kids are dangerous, man. These kids are so dangerous and entitled, and whenever they don't get what they want, some of them think it's the end of the world and put out a gun and decide they want to kill everybody. We have conditioned this generation, and this is a generation of entitlement.
And police say the suspected gunman, Christopher Darnell Jones, who also attended the university, had been on the school's threat assessment team's radar since September. Jones was arrested Monday after an intense manhunt, and he now faces 3 counts of second-degree murder, among other charges. I want to bring in psychologist Dr. Jeff Gardier. Dr. Jeff, it's so just shocking and painful. How, as a culture and a community, do we begin to process?
Well, I think that it's important that we look at each and every one of these shootings as a significant and tragic event. Ebony, according to the Gun Violence Archive, there have been more than 600 school shootings from 2020 through 2022. And it's important for us to not begin just to see this as another part of the news cycle. We spend 2 to 3 days where we mourn and then we move on to something else or another school shooting. So it's really important that we look at each of these significant events and look at why they happen, what we can learn from them, but most importantly, what we can do to prevent them. And of course, making sure that counseling is available for anyone who is part of these school shootings.
Dr. Jeff, I want to ask you about the counseling part. So many people are in therapy or see counselors or therapists on a consistent basis. How is grief counseling different than traditional counseling?
Well, with traditional counseling, we may look at the situation more holistically. look at what has happened to us in the past, any traumas from the past, and then try to figure those things into where we are today. But with grief counseling, we're dealing with the moment, what is happening at this particular time, and being able to say goodbye or at least begin the process of the grieving in a healthier way, and making sure that we actually address the issues that people may have if they're not able to even begin the grieving process because of the emotional pain, because of the anger, because of feeling that they are completely numb because of the horror of that particular situation. So it is important that we initiate grief counseling, if nothing else, as a gateway into what these events mean in a person's life.
And before you go, Dr. Jeff, we are seeing many people posting to reflect the memory and honor these young men who have lost their lives on social media. Just your take, your assessment of how social media can be helpful in a situation like this and not harmful.
This is an opportunity for us to all come together through social media, what it was meant to be, what the original intent was, to connect people to one another across cities, across states, across the world. And this is a great opportunity for all of us to be able to talk about this tragedy and to address the feelings that people have. We have incredible amounts of anxiety and depression just from COVID and some of the other things that have followed that. But we know those school shootings are the constant that really takes our kids to a psychological space where they do not feel safe. And we've got to be able to come together to figure out ways to be able to feel safe together in an educational and social setting.
1,000%. Dr. Jeff, we want to thank you for just giving some structure as to how this healing process can proceed. Of course, our prayers are with the victims, their families, and the entire UVA community. Up next, we're switching gears and talking about romantic relationship and what it takes to make them last. You don't want to miss it. Stay with us.
This month, watch Sierra Payton in Wendy Williams, the movie, right here on The Griot.